Today, once again, we have Matt Struthers for this week's edition of the Crop Report. And so thank you so much for being with me today, Matt.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love it every week.
All right, Matt, so we've been getting a little bit of moisture here in Lloydminster and in the Northwest region. Has that moisture been present throughout the rest of Saskatchewan now that most producers have finished up seeding?
So the province has wrapped up seeding for the most part. There's the last couple green feed fields going in, but usually those are put in last anyways. So we're right on schedule, right where we should be. Last week we had some heavy rainstorms roll through parts of the province. Other parts just kind of got a little sprinkle here and there. Nothing that really changed their growing conditions, and so it's good to hear that the Lloydminster area and the Northwest is getting a little bit of rain. There's certainly producers up there that need it.
And so, Matt, let's focus on the Northwest region. We were leading seeding, so we are pretty much mostly done out here near Lloydminster. We were a little dry, though we have been getting some really hard rains in some parts of the Northwest region. How is it looking for moisture here in the Northwest region, as well as soil conditions and growing conditions for the Northwest?
Yeah, for moisture conditions, luckily they were able to get some rains in the last couple of weeks up there. So for topsoil moisture and for both cropland and hay and pasture, it's holding out. It's adequate for the most part, but it doesn't take long for that soil to dry out and things to start to decline. So they certainly need to have more rainfall in the forecast. An inch every other 3 days would be really nice for a crop up there, depending on the heat. If it's really hot, maybe every other day would be nice to see a little bit of rain, just to give those crops just something to drink during those hot days. But condition-wise and also development, the crops are looking great. Most crops up in that area for spring cereals, oil seeds, and pulses, they're all in their normal, or the majority of them are in their normal stages of development. Some producers are saying they're ahead, and that's likely just due to the fact that they were able to seed earlier than they normally would. That crop's just able to get up out of the ground and start with a leg up rather than a few years. Usually they would be seeding later, and that crop would have a shorter season, but it's able to get up now. And then, just condition-wise, there's a few, with that rainfall, there's a few areas that might have been hit hard, maybe with a little bit of hail or even some standing water if the rain was quite substantial, and those areas will suffer a little bit. But overall, the crop looks very good for the Northwest and much of the province as well.
And now we'll look across the rest of the province. The Southwest has been traditionally quite dry and into that west central region, and then in the east, it's been quite wet in these past few years. How has that been looking right now with the rain that has been present throughout the rest of the province a little bit, and just their soil conditions as well as how good the growing is looking in Saskatchewan right now?
Yeah, we're seeing some in those areas here in the south and the west central where lentils or pulses are a little bit more prevalent. We're seeing a lot of root rot pop up just with those areas that were hammered with some rain. Pulses don't really like wet feet, so there's some struggling with that right now. Which that's just how it happens when you have too much moisture sometimes. So, but overall, it's nice to see it rain down here. I like to see it rain, but I don't like to see it rain 3 inches in one spot in a matter of hours. That causes a lot of issues. So I'd like to see that spread out a little bit more over the course of a day, or multiple days, especially if it's 3 inches. So no, conditions look good. A lot of producers are very optimistic and they're really happy with what they're seeing. But of course, still there's some isolated, localized dry areas, and a lot of producers out there still suffering through a lot of dry conditions. So really hoping that those producers get rain soon, especially those producers with livestock who will be cutting hay soon. As haying is coming up just around the corner, we need a lot of hay growth there to replenish the feed stocks that we've been depleting in the last 2 years.
And so, Matt, you mentioned root rot down in the Southwest. Has there been any other diseases present throughout the rest of Saskatchewan? And then the other big thing that is a problem for most crops have been pests. Have any of those grasshoppers been out so far early on in the growing season?
Yeah. So, for other diseases, it's been pretty quiet on that front. There might be a few that are popping up here just with that moisture just being received. It takes a little bit of time for some to kind of become noticeable. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that, and producers for sure will be keeping an eye out for that in their fields. Grasshoppers, once again, are being big news down here, especially in the south and up into the central regions, and even there's even reports of them, creeping up farther north than they normally are. The population appears to be quite large again, just with the large egg laying that would have happened last year, and then the conditions being conducive to their development this year. Producers are once again struggling through that. So there's a lot of producers out there and spraying for them and trying to keep them down, and yeah, it's very difficult because they can cause a lot of damage quite quickly, and producers are just trying to stay ahead of that.
Thank you so much once again, Matt, for all of the information for this week's crop report, and we will talk to either you or Mackenzie very soon.
Thank you very much. Take care.